Okay. Uh, I've got uh, I've got a half-finished poem here that I'm going to read to try to explain why I got rid of the talk I had been preparing all week, and what we've got is, totally instant here. If I can get the poem, yeah. The poem's called "The Greatest Force for Peace," and it's like I said, it's unfinished right now. Maybe I'll have it finished by think by tomorrow if you tune in on Monday with the poem of the week. Greatest Force for Peace. I spent 90 minutes a Saturday afternoon at the Speed Museum here in Louisville watching the theatrical release of Steal This Story, Please, a documentary film about the greatest journalist in America today, Amy Goodman. Most Americans have probably never heard of Amy Goodman. That reality testifies to the almost complete corporate capture of the current media landscape. Amy Goodman has been delivering real news you can use to remain human and sane for 30 years. In her daily news hour called Democracy Now!, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, since 1996, Amy has been widening the frame of journalism to include the voices and the hard truths we seldom hear on corporate media. On the back of Amy's laptop, there's a bumper sticker that proclaims her journalistic creed. It reads like this: In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. So it was really a powerful movie. I'm going to tell you more about it and actually have Amy speak for herself here today. I hadn't planned on any of this, but I woke up to the news this morning that last night's annual correspondent dinner, where they normally roast the president, and with some comedian, that annual correspondence dinner devolved into chaos when a SWAT team and Secret Service rushed onto the stage to evacuate the president and left the journalists and politicians on their knees, cowering under tables. A couple of hours later, the whole event morphed into a presidential infomercial for his $400 billion Golden Ballroom. In these shambolic times, shambolic's the only word I can use to talk about what's going on. I mean, it seems like things are in shambles. Last night, the correspondence dinner, uh, current events, the economy. These are shambolic times. In these shambolic times, it's hard to know what is real and what's a made-for-TV docudrama. All the more reason to tune in to Democracy Now! Every morning and start your day listening to folks who are committed to telling you the truth that often the corporations and government don't want to tell you. Also, if you get a chance, see this documentary. It's in theaters now and on cable soon. Steal the Story, Please. And I agree with Amy Goodman. And if you see whenever you see the documentary, she says that truly independent media can be the greatest force for peace on this planet. And I agree. Poem's not done yet. And hopefully by tomorrow I'll get it done. But today, I decided I was going to do a talk in praise of Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! This morning about 8 o'clock. And I figured out the best way I could do that is let Amy talk directly to you, especially if you've never seen a Democracy Now! Many of you might, or a few of you might be doing that. So I've got three little clips. The first is present day, like only a couple days ago, where they interviewed Amy and the director of the film on Morning Joe. It was a pretty good interview, and it's about 7 minutes long. And then we're gonna go in the Wayback Machine back to the time of the Iraq War and Hurricane Katrina to hear Amy talking for 6 minutes on a site that's called The Big Think. And you'll see what she was like, well, 13 years ago. And she'll give you words from 13 years ago that ring as true as ever today. And then finally, we'll end with a 2-minute trailer for the documentary "Steal This Story," and then that's really and if that works, that'll be great because I've never done this before. And then hopefully I'll be able to tell you about my favorite scene in the whole movie. Ron and I and Pam and Elizabeth drove up to Louisville to see it yesterday at the Speed Museum. And if you're a Louisvillian, it's actually on for one more day at the Speed Museum, 3 p.m. It's worth catching. Well, let's see if I can actually show you the first thing. Cross your fingers here. Let me see.
Independent media is the oxygen of a democracy.
What do you mean by independent?
Not being sponsored by corporations.
Amy's chaotically brilliant at the spy game.
We began on 9 radio stations.
If she believes something, she's going to fight for it and get it out to the world. Straight up journalism.
It came from my Jewish education that you ask questions.
Sharif, can you talk about what's happened on the Gaza Strip?
From Ground Zero from East Timor. This redeploying in Haiti from Georgia's death row prison.
We had to smuggle in our recording equipment. This was extremely dangerous. We're accusing a powerful American corporation of murder.
Without any warning, the military opened fire on the protesters. They put the guns to our heads. It is critical that we expose what is done in our name.
That was a look at the new documentary, Steal This Story, Please. The film follows the incredible efforts of independent investigative journalist Amy Goodman as she crisscrosses the globe for Democracy Now!, covering the real stories that she says are often overlooked by major news outlets. Joining us now, co-director of the documentary, Carl Deal, and co-founder and host of Democracy Now!, independent journalist Amy Goodman. We should note this film has been in theaters for 4 days, and it's one of the strongest theatrical releases in the U.S. in 10 years. A great opening for the film. A lot of people really care about the subject. We'll talk about the movie in just a second. But let's just start here about the Democracy Now! Itself. Celebrating 30 years now. Where did it come from? Why do you feel like it's so important? How has it grown the way it has from 9 stations to now over 1,500?
1,500 public television, radio stations around the world, and continues to grow. I mean, I think it comes down to the independence of Democracy Now! When we cover war, we're not brought to you by the weapons manufacturers. When we cover the climate catastrophe, the fate of the planet, we're not brought to listeners and viewers by oil, gas, and coal companies. When we cover inequality, not by the banks or the financial institutions, but by the listeners, the viewers, and readers. And I think that's what's kept it going. And now when we look at the gutting of newsrooms all over the country, the closing of newspapers, when we look at the Washington Post, 1/3 of its news staff, hundreds of reporters just laid off. It is absolutely critical that we have a media outlet that is not brought to us by the corporations that profit from the problems of our day, but people committed to finding solutions to authentic voices, and that's who we talk to every day.
So, Carl, was that ethos, is that what drew you to the film?
Absolutely. When Amy says, she means every word that she said, and that's the credo by which they live and which they operate at Democracy Now!, she and her crew. They're really focused on getting the voices on the air of folks who are often living at the target end of the guns and who don't show up in a lot of the other media. It's really important. We call the film Steal This Story, Please, because Amy talks a lot about this idea of trickle-up journalism, which is, if she has an exclusive then she's failed, right? She wants the stories that she uncovers to be picked up by other folks. And so you see a lot of that in the film.
So you've obviously traveled the world in some really dangerous situations and hot spots there. We're in a number of them right now. Talk to us about how you feel your organization, but also the media writ large, is doing covering what's happening in the globe at this moment.
Our job is to go to where the silence is, as journalists. What often is not heard, and what I feel represents most people. I mean, when you look at the U.S. and Israeli attack on Iran, we have to hear Iranian voices, because when you hear those voices, it's much less likely that you'll want to destroy them. Just hearing an Iranian child, maybe a girl who wasn't blown up in Manab on the first day of the attack, right, in southern Iran. Unfortunately, it looks like it was the U.S. that struck this girls' school, and about 170 people died, overwhelmingly girls. But to hear from people on the ground changes everything. You don't have to agree with them. You could fiercely disagree. But it makes it much less likely that you want to destroy them. And I think the media can be the greatest force for peace on earth, but instead it's often wielded as a weapon of war. I mean, whether we're talking about hearing Iranian voices, Iranian professors, Iranian artists, whether we're talking about hearing Palestinian voices, a Palestinian poet, whether we're talking about Israeli peace activists, the voices of those who I often think in this country and around the world represent the majority. Now, I would just say, I think those who care about war and peace, who care about climate change, who care about equality and LGBTQ issues, are not a fringe minority, not even a silent majority, but all too often silenced by the corporate media.
And Carl, what do you hope audiences leave the theater with when they see this film?
Well, we've seen audiences leave the theater uplifted and inspired. This is a pretty difficult time, right? I mean, you guys report on it as vigorously as anybody. You know, I mean, it's no surprise that Morning Joe is the top-rated morning show in the country, the most watched. It's because you don't shy away from taking on Trump and calling it what it is. And the conventional wisdom around nonfiction documentary films is that audiences just want to see films about celebrities or true crime. But what we're seeing with the audience response to this film is that people really care about what's happening in their lives and in the world and want to make sense of it. And our really strong opening this weekend is bearing that out.
Certainly. Everyone at this table, everyone in this building understands the importance of journalism, perhaps now more than ever. Timely and important film, Steal the Story, Please, is now playing at the IFC Center in New York, and it will expand to major cities across the country this Friday. Carl Diehl and Amy Goodman, our thanks to you both. Congratulations.
All right, to see. So that's just recent. Now we're going to take you back in the time machine to 13 years ago to
often can't tell the difference. You're flipping from one channel to another, and they're all Trump all the time. It's Trumpland. I see the media as a huge kitchen table that stretches across the globe, that we all sit around and debate and discuss the most important issues of the day. War and peace, life and death, and anything less than that is a disservice to a democratic society. It is critical in an election year to hear how policies affect people on the ground, not to get the pundits, but to get the people themselves. They're bringing you the pundits, and this is true on all the networks, the pundits who know so little about so much, explaining the world to us and getting it so wrong. The media manufactures consent for war, for candidates in elections, by bringing you more, for example, of one person, like Donald Trump. He is pumped into everyone's home. He can just stay in a gold-gilded mansion in New York or one of them in Florida. The rest of the candidates trudge from one state to another. Why does he get this unfiltered pipeline into everyone's brain, into your eyes, into your consciousness? It matters. The Tyndall Center did a report in 2015. They looked at the whole year.
They found Donald Trump got 23 times the coverage of, say, Bernie Sanders. They found ABC World News Tonight did something like 81 minutes on Donald Trump, and I think they gave Bernie Sanders 20 seconds. Bernie Sanders is breaking every record. It's the only reason he's getting any coverage right now. I mean, the media, he is shaming the media. In March, he raised something like $44 million. Hillary Clinton raised 29 and change million dollars. $44 million. That hasn't been done before. You break every record, and there's a blip in the corporate media radar screen. It just shows how astounding it would be if he got anything near the coverage of the other candidates. Could you imagine where he would be right now? In this high-tech digital age, with high-definition television, digital radio, all we get is static. That veil of distortion and lies and misrepresentations and half-truths that obscure reality, when what we need the media to give us is the dictionary definition of static: criticism, opposition, unwanted interference. We need a media that covers power, not covers for power. We need a media that is the fourth estate, not for the state. And we need a media that covers the movements that create static and make history.
President Trump saying climate change is a Chinese hoax.
I'm sorry, I'm running late for a meeting. Thanks.
Right, but you weren't running late when you were just standing there, so.
My first impressions of Amy.
What did you say to those who say that you're a war criminal?
Man, she doesn't care what anybody thinks.
Don't push me. I'm a journalist here. Independent media is the oxygen of a democracy.
What do you mean by independent?
Not being sponsored by corporations.
Amy's chaotically brilliant at the spy game.
We began on 9 radio stations.
If she believes something, she's going to fight for it and get it out to the world. Straight up journalism.
It came from my Jewish education that you ask questions.
Sharif, can you talk about what's happened on the Gaza Strip? From Ground Zero from East Timor, as we deplane in Haiti, from Georgia's death row prison.
We had to smuggle in our recording equipment. This was extremely dangerous. We're accusing a powerful American corporation of murder.
Without any warning, the military opened fire on the protesters. They put the guns to our heads. It is critical that we expose what is done in our name. Donald Trump understood corporate owners of the media would do anything for money.
She taught me, speak to the people at the target end of the bomb, speak to those who are being deliberately silenced.
When you hear someone speak, it's less likely you'll want to destroy them.
We expand the frame and center those voices.
There is a great force that would like to silence us.
The press, they're the enemy of the people.
We're not the only thing doing no work. And we're not going to let it happen.
All right. Well, I want to talk to you, just give you just a minute or two on reflection of this whole film, which is really it's a great film. If you're in Louisville, try to get over to Speed today and see it at 3:00. It's worth it. One moment stood out for me. There's so many moments in it. I mean, she brought attention to the world to what was going on in East Timor for 17 years. She almost lost her life in doing that. She was at Haiti as soon as the earthquake happened. She was at Haiti near a place Ron used to work, Visitation House, interviewing people right when it wasn't even safe to go down there. It's just 30 years of doing this, and really bringing things that really weren't covered. Gaza, for instance, and that's the moment I want to talk about it. In Gaza, she reports on it almost every day from journalists on the ground there. Most of any kind of news you get out of Gaza is coming from somebody in Israel reporting, because they don't let international journalists get there. So she has a web of people who are diminishing as they kill journalist after journalist there. But that's where I get the news from Gaza, about Gaza, to put out every week myself. So invaluable. But there was one moment in the movie. It's about 30 seconds long, where it shows her doing a talk on Gaza, and she's off the screen now, and somebody else is talking. Reporters talking about what's happening, and it was so. What you saw was Amy's face, and it was grimacing and close to tears. And I often wondered, because I've been watching her for decades now, I often wonder what she feels during, doing this for 30 years, seeing the amount of human suffering, and also the brilliant resilience of people who will just keep flourishing despite it all. And I saw in that moment, that moment like a broken heart. And it was a broken heart that probably has never closed back. She says in the movie that this day in East Timor, where she almost got killed and was beaten to the ground, had a gun at her head, her and Ellen there. And she said, I see that every day. And that was 30 years ago. What a price she pays. And she shows up 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year for 30 years reporting, so we can see what's actually not being shown to us. To me, if you're a Buddhist, that's what you call a Buddha. And if you're a Christian, that's what you call a saint. And if you're a Jew, which she grew up as, and her grandfather was an Orthodox rabbi, if a Jew would call him a mensch, really a real human being. Yeah. And I think that's why I really wanted to show it today, because it's done that to me too. Your heart breaks to look at what's really going on in the world, but that's the whole process, because your heart breaks open, and at some point it doesn't close up. And that's what it really means to be a person of compassion, which is what a Buddha is, what a saint is, what a mensch is, what a human being can be. Person who feels the suffering in the world, and eventually you do something about it, but the feeling of it is the beginning. Yeah, and most people don't see what's really going on in even West Louisville. Yeah, unless you live in West Louisville, which most of us don't. Okay, well, I think that's good enough to whet your appetite, and now to sit with it as we do. I think it's important too, to just sit and just don't do a whole lot about it. You just sort of sit with what you just seen, and maybe there's I watched just a little bit of the news today to see what was really happening about the correspondence dinner. So when we sit, we can ponder all that, which means listen to the ear of the heart with all that. And then, of course, how it fits into your own life. Maybe something more dramatic than all this is happening in your life. We're going to sit with it in silence, and then we'll be able to, the important thing is we'll be able to share these things as a community. So I think you can probably stop the recording and we'll start the silence.